It's a one-hour session. It's not a very long, but still. Okay, we are live now. A very good morning to everyone. I'm very pleased to welcome you all to our webinar today. My name is Mutarib Bekmuradov, and I'm Head of Knowledge Management and Communications at Iqra, and I will be moderating today's event. Our webinar is dedicated to the UAE's National Environment Day, which is celebrated every year on 4th of February. The day itself is a testament to the UAE's commitment to sustainable development and environmental conservation. It's also a special occasion when public and private sector organizations and civil society come together to rally around environmental causes. But more importantly, it serves as a reminder that we all have a part to play in protecting the environment and that our choices and actions have an impact on nature. And this ethos is captured very well in this year's theme for the day, which is Climate Action Now. And our discussion today will look at how we can build environmental sustainability and climate resilience into food security efforts and what Iqra has been doing to this end. Now, without further ado, I would like to give the floor to our Acting Director General, Dr. Tarifa Al-Zabi, to give the opening remarks. Please, Dr. Tarifa.
Good morning, everyone. Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we're delighted to be with you here today. It is a pleasure to speak to you as we celebrate the UAE's National Environment Day. As Muttalib started his introduction, it is really a testimony of the great work and that the United Arab Emirates is doing and the commitment to sustainable development and environmental conservation. At Iqba, we also give a priority to environmental conservation and sustainability. While it may look like our work focuses primarily on food security, environmental conservation, and sustainability from the basis of all our approaches and solutions for agriculture and food production. Our current work at the center develop approaches and solutions that help to reduce the environmental impact of agriculture and food production, as these sectors are by far the largest user of natural resources such as fresh water and arable land. What is more is that we work on technologies to restore degraded natural resources and make a better use of unconventional soil and water resources. For example, the scientists work on fresh water. As we know that the fresh water is scarce, our scientists work on different studies on how to utilize treated wastewater and saline water for agriculture and food production. Moreover, we focus on controlled environment agriculture system ranging from low-tech net houses to high-tech vertical farms to enhance local production and reduce water and energy use. We have also been researching how brine and seawater can be used in an integrated agri-aquaculture system to farm fish and halophytes such as saliconia. While research and innovation are our core activities, we also provide policy support and capacity development, as both are essential prerequisites for promotion and adoption of sustainable approaches and solutions for agriculture and food production. We take pride in the fact that our science-based recommendations have informed the UAE Water Conservation Strategy and the UAE Agricultural Strategy, among others. We are also happy to have programs that aim to develop capacities and capabilities of people, whether it's students, scientists, farmers, or other stakeholders in the country. Hundreds of people have benefited from our programs such as internship, fellowship, and technical training courses over the past 2 decades. We also paid special attention to youth and women in the sector of agriculture. We also committed to continuing this work and increasing our contribution in support of UAE's goals related to food security, environmental conservation, and other areas. With this, I wish you a productive discussion today, and we look forward to continue working together with our local and international partner great appreciation to all the support that we have received. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tarifa, for sharing your thoughts and insights. Indeed, there's a lot that's being done by Iqra. And now I would like to, we have a series of presentations, and our first presenter is Dr. Rk Singh, who is program leader on crop diversification and genetics at Iqra. The floor is yours, Dr. Rk, please.
Thank you, Muttalib. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity on UAE National Environment Day, and also thanks to all the organizers that so that we can share what we are thinking and what we are working on ICBA, and how we can say that we are working on the nature positive solutions. So let me share the screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can, Dr. Rk.
Okay, thank you very much. So just I'm going to speak on the crop diversification as a nature positive strategy. When we say that it's a, just a second, please. Yes, sorry. So when we say that nature positive strategy, what is that nature positive strategy? Anything which is having the lowest carbon footprints, means like that doesn't affect the climate adversely, we can say it's a nature positive intervention or a strategy. So we should have those activities considering the whole climate. Climate is not like a for one person or 2%, it's for the whole world, and it's our legacy. Our legacy should go to the children in a safe manner and in the better manner. So we have our compulsion to go for the zero or minimal carbon footprints. And the challenge is that, yes, we can do this low carbon footprints, but what to do? Because we have to have the food, feed, and nutritional security, the challenges also. Once we are going together with the food, feed, and nutritional security, also along with the low carbon footprint, that is a trade-off. And that trade-off, we have to see the balance in that one, because both are very essential for the humanity. So there are only two ways what we can do for the food, feed, and nutritional security. One, you can grow the things what you want, but that needs the externalities, external environment to be changed. So that needs the resources that affects the environment very adversely. So those things should be little bit, not going much ahead with that, because that is harming the environment and increasing the carbon footprints. The second thing is that you can grow the diverse crops and varieties without changing the externalities. If you don't change the externalities, you use the least resources, then it is called nature positive and minimal carbon footprints, and that's the way we should go ahead. The whole humanity should go ahead. And when we talk about the diverse crops and variety, there is good news as well as bad news also. The good news is that we have the big agriculture biodiversity, and without biodiversity, there is no existence of life on the earth. So this is an asset, we can say. This is an asset. We have that big biodiversity, but it is reducing day by day, but still we have enough. And we can say that we have around more than 400,000 plant species. Out of that, 30,000 has been known as the edible species. And it means we have a huge diversity, and 30,000 means everywhere we have something we can grow for that environment, so that we have something which can be grown on that environment. And in the literature, around 6,000 has been reported, which can be used as food. But if you go to the supermarket or somewhere in the farmers' fair or fairs or the local market, you can't find more than 150 crops. And that's the irony of that. And in that 150 crops, even if you consider yourself, what did you eat yesterday? What did you eat day before yesterday? Mostly 3 crops: maize, wheat, rice, and at the most 4th potato crop. So these are the 4 crops which are giving most of the calorific requirements. So this is the irony, that what is happening, that not every environment condition is ready to produce rice, wheat, and maize and potato, but people are pressing that. Once people are pressing to grow these things everywhere, it means you are increasing the carbon footprints, and especially when climate is not congenial for that type of thing. So we can say this good news was that agriculture biodiversity. The bad news is the food system. Our food system, we are relying on only few. It means That is the major driver for habitat degradation and climate change. So when we say that degradation, so if you see that the food system is responsible in the whole GHG emission, greenhouse gas emission, 34%. And out of 34%, 70% around comes from agriculture and land use changes. So this is the major biodiversity driver of biodiversity loss, because we are relying only on the few crops, not many crops which can be consumed. So what is the solution about that? The solution is that we have to have the more investment on that in deploying, the boosting, the adoption of the existing technologies, the proven technologies or innovation, which leads to the low carbon technologies or low carbon footprints. Current investment on this one, it is around $56 billion globally on the agriculture research. It looks big, but it is a peanut when we talk about the scale. So it doesn't match to the rate that is needed to address climate change, nature loss, hunger, and other development objectives. So what we should do, we have to increase this investment from the policy interventions from the different people, and they should think in the big way that if you are losing the biodiversity now, it cannot be recreated. It's not like minting the money. You cannot recreate that. So we have to rely on more local, traditional, and less damaging methods. And local food is more resilient. Unfortunately, the most of the investment we are talking about $56 billion, it also goes mostly on the staple crops. So when we talk about the climate resilient crops, they are really orphan crops. There are not investment on that one. So we need to have more investment on the diversity and the orphan crops also. We have a gene bank. Iqra has a gene bank, and we have like more than 15,000 accessions in that. In that, we have like 270 plant species. I want to say that we also have the collection of 275 seed samples, which are from local. So those locals should be also utilized in our food and feed diet. And all those accessions are good for mostly the marginal environment. When we say marginality, biophysical marginality, it is more on the salt, drought, and heat stress. They are catering that, and this conserved crop diversity is for the food, feed, and nutrition security. We don't say that only food security, because the livestock is very, very important in this region. So feed security is also very important. But side by side, we have those diverse crops. They are very rich in the nutrients. That's why we say food, feed, and nutritional security, because you are just feeding somebody with the carbohydrate. If you are not giving the minerals, other things, vitamins, it is useless. It's another type of malnutrition. So we have to have food, feed, and nutritional security. And this diversifying crop system, they are better for the withstanding the biotic and abiotic stresses. What is the Iqra advocacy? Iqra says, let's go for the climate healthy way to go for the nutritional food and nutritional security. How? In the region without leaving much carbon footprint. So this is the key, without leaving much carbon footprint on that. And so that's why Iqra is promoting nature positive solutions and supporting the technology with no or minimal carbon footprints. And that way we are going for cultivating the crop and varieties that can grow under the local condition like UAE and MENA region, even if it is a harsh climate. So how we fit into those climates. So that is the key, that how you fit that. That is like befitting the different crop diversities. So Iqra resonates. And when we say Iqra resonates with the climate appropriate diverse crops, means the crops which are fitting into the ecology in the this region, harsh region, and the challenging conditions. Say for example, if it is a very high salinity, I'm talking about the food crop, in that if it is a high salinity, barley is that, but quinoa consume very less water, as well as it can thrive upon the local condition of the high salinity up to 10 to 15 decisiemens, and it's a food crop. It's a real miracle when we talk about you can get the food crop on a 10 to 15 decisiemens. Other crops cannot go. The nearest one is the barley, which is 8 decisiemens. It has the salinity threshold value. Then if it is the same thing, we don't have much assessed or resources, you can go for the grasses, because as I mentioned, feed security, livestock is very important in this region. So blue panicum and buffalo grass can go in this condition. So salinity and drought conditions. Extremely high saline conditions, even Dr. Tarifa also mentioned about the salicornia, etc. So we have the halophytic grasses, which are very high salinity tolerant. So those things can be grown under that. And siliconia also can be grown until the sea water levels, sea level salinity. So in that case, the siliconia, I can say that it is feed crop, but as well as food crop, because the fresh tip of the siliconia can be utilized in the some of the upstream food market. Coming to the drought and heat stress, we have many crops in that, like foxtail millets, finger millet. These are the crops. And then another is the amaranth, the cowpea, the proso millet. They have the very least carbon footprints. So that is these are the crops which can be grown, which should be grown rather under these conditions. Coming to another thing, that we have very limited growing period, which is good. As I mentioned, we have to befit into the different ecology. So when we have like a 5 to 6 months or 4 to 5 months, which are conducive to grow the good crop, we have very small window, like 150 days at the most. Then in that case, we have to have the crop which can fit into that, like 60 to 70 days. And can we do the two cropping of the same to increase the productivity with the least carbon footprint? So these are the crops like barnyard millet, foxtail millet, proso millet. They can grow within the 60 to 70 days, and you can grow again. So within this one season, you can take two crops with the more food productivity with the least carbon footprints. So how these crops contributes as a nature positive solution? Just to see that what are the greenhouse gases emission from the food chain. In the food, I just included only the plant-based. I'm not using this animal-based. Rice is considered as the most, emitting the methane. So that's why it's on the top, like 4 kg of carbon, carbon dioxide, 4 kg is needed or emitted by growing the 1 kg of the rice. So if you compare the rice with the root vegetables or other leaves, it is very high. But when we talk about the animal protein, like beef, then it is minuscule. The beef, if 1 kg of beef, it needs 40-60 kilo carbon dioxide to produce 1 kg of the beef. So plant-based, I mean to say the plant-based diets are very, very nature friendly. And you can say that you are saving the nature, you are saving the environment in case if you are going for the plant-based diets. And what we advocated, quinoa, cowpea, amaranth, they go on the lower of this list. So you can say that what we are doing, we are not preaching only, we are following that, and we are trying to advocate and suggest to the people to go for the plant-based diets, and also having the least carbon footprint for the lineage or our offsprings to come, giving the good inheritance. So one of the studies say that if we are going business as usual, the carbon emissions are going to be in huge. But even if we don't say that, don't go for the complete vegetarian, but even if you go for the less meat or less dairy diet, then you can go for the carbon storage, carbon sequestration. In that, you can increase the carbon by 330 gigaton of carbon dioxide up to by the 2050. So you can save the planet in that way. And the vegan, it is definitely very much higher. So we should go for the food and the plant-based diets. The concluding remarks, if you see that what are the different sectors which can be mitigated. In the IPCIR 4, this is written there very clearly that highest mitigation potential means like flexibility, the plasticity is in the agriculture sector than any other sector. So we have to change something so that we can reduce the carbon footprints. The follow practices that help to increase soil carbon sequestration, as I mentioned, like less animal and protein and less dairy diets and more on the plant-based diets. Protect carbon sinks and decrease the relative intensity of carbon emission. Then go for the diversified crop-based food is one of the major intervention for the nature positivity strategy to reduce the carbon sequestration or carbon footprints. Just give an example. I forgot to just say that, in this one, just to say the pink dot, you can see the pink dot is everywhere. This is nothing but it is for the transport. So every every kg needs 0.1 kg of the 0.1 kg carbon dioxide. So 10 kg of the food needs 1 kg of the carbon dioxide because of the transport. So if we are going for the local, we are reducing this thing particularly on the transport. So look for more local food to avoid transportation. If it is reducing the transportation, so every 10 kg of the food or anything, you are reducing the carbon by 1 kg of the carbon dioxide. So that way you can say that avoiding transport for 1 household food for a year equivalent to driving 1,000 miles. And eat more crop-based diets, shifting to the vegetarian meal for just 1 day in a week could save equivalent to driving 1,160 miles in that. So this way, I can say that this is the safest way. We should go for that. Thank you very much for this opportunity. My email is there. We are here for answering the questions, but if it is like not time or something, you can email me. Thank you very much. Over to you, Muttalib.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rk, for this very interesting presentation. I must say that indeed crop diversification should be an integral part of our approach to sustainable agriculture. And also thank you for highlighting the need for more investment in developing solutions, nature positive solutions, and also how our dietary choices can have an impact on our environmental and specifically carbon footprint. Thank you, Dr. Rk. Now, our next speaker is Dr. Khalil Ammar, who is program leader on sustainable natural resources management at Iqra. The floor is yours, Dr. Khalil. Please. You are muted, Dr. Khalil.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, good morning, everyone. So today I'm going to present how sustainable water management is key for adapting to the climate change. And as we know that climate change is, do you see my screen first? Sorry.
Yes, we can. Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, so we know that climate change is very challenging to many areas, particularly our area here, where we have noticed recently more frequent floods and droughts events, that it's even becoming more severe more and more. And also looking at the growing water stress in many areas, particularly in our area, like the Middle East, which is water scarce countries and affected highly with the climate change impacts there. And at the same time, we know that there are many challenges in terms of how to meet the growing demand of the food due to the growing population. And we lose every day many good soil or lands due to degradation, either in salinization or other things. And all of this leads to that we need to think now more in an innovative way in managing our water resources. Because if we keep looking at the same conventional way of managing our resources, this means it will become more difficult to manage it. Particularly, as we said, with the growing challenges in terms of increasing salinity or degradation of the water resources. We know that groundwater source, for example, is the main water source for agricultural uses in most of the countries. And usually they are tapping the shallow aquifers. Because of this, it's affected mostly by the climate change effect. And because of this also, we see due to the overpumping and degradation and depletion of those valuable water resources. And we need to keep working to see how we can have a better innovative way to manage our resources more wisely. And for example, looking at the climate change impact on our water resources, we can see that, for example, with the different scenarios that we have on the climate change, the temperature will increase from 2 to 4.5 degrees. This means that it will have implication on the crop water requirements and crop water use. And this means also we need to pump more water, then the depletion will be more if we not take the right actions at the right time. In addition to the possible heat waves that affects also the growth of the different crops, and also could be possibilities for having seawater level rise and would affect the marine areas or the communities along the coastal areas. And also the reduced rainfall could be also another important factor, not only in the rain-fed areas, but also affecting like the sand storms events that comes more often now and stronger that affects our areas here. So there are many factors or effects due to the climate change that is already going on, and we need to take the right action to see how we can improve the adaptation to these climatic things. Therefore, we need to look at how we can manage our water sources better. And as Dr. Rk mentioned, we need to look at then more suitable crops that are relevant to our areas in terms of the soil suitability and water quality and salinity and the climatic conditions. So the conventional crops that we usually use, it might not work well. Then we need to decide according to the different salinity levels, what are the best alternatives or varieties of the crops that we can use that can maintain or improve the yield and then improve the sustain the agricultural production, which is key for our work. Then we need to look at how we can improve the water use efficiency in terms of having better estimates of the crop water requirements, and also how to increase the efficiency of using these water resources in the field, and maybe look at other alternative resources, as Dr. Taraf mentioned, like the treated wastewater, drainage water, and many other types of water that it's untapped until now, or like widely. So increasing the irrigation efficiency and improving agricultural water productivity is a key for sustaining the water resources here. And we did the excellent work in terms of looking how we can increase the agricultural water productivity and measuring the production in terms of water unit instead of land is more appropriate for our areas because of due to the water scarcity. Then because we know now when you compare it with how much per square meter, it will not give us a clear indication where we stand in terms of the indices and in terms of how we can manage our resources better. For example, we know that the forages uses a higher percentages of or quantities of water. But when you compare it with the per cubic meter, you will see, like for alfalfa, for example, it's low. While you can look at, for example, the cucumber, it consumes less water, but when you compare it to the production per cubic meter, it's more. Then the trade-offs in terms of meeting the local market demand and also the quality of the water in terms of the salinity and other pollutions, and also the quality of the soil in terms of how poor is it or good enough, then you can decide what we can grow and where and when. And these are important factors to decide on before we go for more details for the innovations that we usually develop and use in our systems and in our practices. I will give an example about a project we did in Euphrates and Tigris in collaboration with many partners, including Iqra, where we work with them on the improving water productivity in the basin. And we looked there about the two parts, then the rain-fed area and also the irrigated areas, which is in the southern part and also northern parts here, using the irrigated areas. So this is a study showed that there are several reasons for the low productivity, which is the red areas, due maybe bad practices, many other factors in the rain-fed areas or the variation in rainfall. While in the irrigated areas, it was very clear that there was a good match between the low productive areas with the low quality water or saline water in the southern part, in the southern part of the basin. This means that the crops that Dr. Rk mentioned or elaborated on could be more appropriate in terms of improving the agricultural productivity and production in such areas. So this concept or this is very important for us before, as I said, to go for the modernization or using more appropriate technologies for the irrigation and others. In addition to that, we work also on many other innovations that help us in having more accurate data in terms of real-time data that works better in giving us a better estimate of the actual water use, like the sensor systems and the saddle flow and many others. That helped us in estimating the actual volume of water to be irrigated at the right time, at the right quantity, with looking at the quality of the water in terms of the salinity and what effect it will have on the fruits or the crops that are produced. Then you can decide how you can optimize this irrigation system. And this led to have a better saving of the water and the fertilizers and the energy as well. So all of these ideas, when you look at it in an integrated package with the best practices, it can make a big or significant improvement in terms of the saving of the water resources. And this can also affect how we can sustain the environment, not to affect more the degradation in the groundwater resources or the pollution in the surface waters or the rivers from the retained flow from the drainage systems in these basins. Also, we did similar like tests and experiments, particularly on the date palms, because it's one of the strategic trees or crops in our region. That any saving in this irrigation of the date palm can make a huge or significant saving on the national water budget and also regional and also global effect. So this is very important concepts that we need to look at when we design what to grow and when to grow and how to grow the right things. Now, after that, we should come to the different technologies that could improve the productivity of the soil in terms of the amendments to the soil and increasing the holding capacity of the water, and then how this can accelerate or improve the production. Because we know farmers usually, when they see the quality of the water or the soil is poor, they increase the quantities of water irrigated because they think that this can increase the yield. But they find after a while that it's not. Then adding these amendments and improvements, technologies to the systems can improve a lot the production and the yield. Also, another important aspect, as Dr. Taraf mentioned, is to look at the untapped uses of different water resources available, like treated wastewater or drainage water or produced water or whatever, low quality water, to save the fresh water. Now, for example, although UAE, they are doing very well in terms of using treated wastewater, they are using more than 76%, but it's mostly for using for landscaping. Now, how to shift this to be more for agricultural production and then it fit to the food security is very important. And how to minimize the loss of this water, like 24% when it's under the water scarcity conditions and under this climatic effect. This means that we are losing a lot. So how to maximize the benefit of using all this water till the last drop is key for our sustainability and for our improvement. And the examples for using other important non-conventional resources is also add value to the water balance and improve the overall management of the water resources. With this, I would like to conclude that although we know that agricultural production is very important and key to keep pace with the growing population and the growing need for the food, but how to sustain this agricultural production to not to affect or harm the environment and also to keep the water for the future generations is very important and key. This could be done through improving the water use efficiency, and then you can sustain more these limited water resources for future generations, as I said. And also using other or non-conventional water sources can also reduce the burden on the pressure on the natural resources and the environment at the end. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khalil, for this very insightful presentation. Surely we cannot adapt to climate change if we don't adopt sustainable water management technologies and solutions. And indeed, we must do everything we can to save water resources, which are often very much undervalued for the future generations. Thank you. And now our final presenter is Dr. Charles Taraf, who is Senior Manager for Corporate Services and Development at Iqra. The floor is yours, Dr. Charles.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Muttalib. Thank you, everyone. Let me just share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Great. So let me start first by really saluting the UAE for putting the environment at the top of its agenda. And I cannot really but value the work that my colleagues here at ICBA are doing really to mitigate those challenges that we are all facing. So having said this, I think my colleagues presented the work at ICBA, our contribution, as a matter of fact, and this is the title of our webinar today, how we are contributing to really mitigate those challenges one way or another. So one of the things, that we do at ICBA is we spread that knowledge, okay? And what I'm going to do today is to really go over what we do at ICBA to spread that know-how or how to teach others, about certain things. And this is the essence of my presentation today. So let me just. So how can I? Okay. So as I said, capacity development is at the core of what we do at ICBA. It comes in different forms and shapes, and I will be talking about those in a minute. So our vision here for our capacity development is an inclusive and impactful capacity development for marginal environments. And definitely our mission is to develop human capital to achieve food security and agricultural prosperity. Definitely keeping in mind that we have to have always the environment within those entities as well. So again, as I said, my presentation is just to give you an overview of what we do in terms of capacity development. This is here some of the statistics regarding our capacity development activities. We have worked with almost like 9,000 participants from all over. Definitely, we have more probably focus on the areas that we work on in, like the UAE, like the Sub-Saharan Africa, like Central Asia, okay? And we have also, since our mandate is to really regarding also gender equity, we try as much as we can to sort involve both genders in all our capacity development activities. So as I said, our capacity development activities, they come in different forms and shapes. We have like technical training, like our projects that my colleagues talked about. In many times, capacity development is embedded within those projects where we transfer that knowledge, after finishing those projects, to the farmers that we are working with or to the centers that we are collaborating with. Okay, so we have also postdoctoral and doctoral and master research. We have internships. We have farmer field schools. I will go over this in a second in more details. Knowledge hubs. We have specific programs that are tailored to specific group of people like the Arab women leaders in agriculture. Also youth is an important aspect, and this is high also on our agenda, and that's why we have this Youth Engagement Society. We have the Emirates Soil Museum, and definitely there are many community initiatives and awareness that we do at ICBA. So just to show you some also statistics of our work here, this is some of our technical programs, as I said, that we have in different parts of the world. Like in 93 countries, we have so much participants, close to 3,500, where we have over 140 courses in more than 30 countries, depending on the projects that we are working on, and 25% of those are young women, and definitely the topics differ in that regard. Again, as I said, we have here hosted many postdocs over the years. They contribute to our research, to our knowledge, and definitely they benefit, through working with our scientists on those projects that at many times they really hit into environment and food security, like my colleagues mentioned. Internships, we receive interns from different universities locally and from abroad. Again, if we link this to the youth engagement, this is also what our contribution in terms of teaching those young, or giving the opportunity, as a matter of fact, to those young boys and girls to really learn how we do research and how we think about research in general, and how we really write the proposals in the essence, or to promote environment and to promote agriculture and food security. Definitely, Farmers Field School, as I said, we target young farmers and rural families in their fields, including women. And as the slides here shows, we have like hundreds and thousands direct and indirect beneficiaries in different parts of the world. And this is just examples here of where we do those farmers field school. And as we show here, there are like 25 countries in the MENA, Sub-Saharan Africa, and the Central Asia. As I said, sometimes we tailor certain programs for a specific group of individuals. This is the Aula, which a program that we pride ourselves with. So we have here the Arab Women Leaders in Agriculture that started. We had the first cohort where we had like 22 fellows graduated on the 8th of March 2020. And here we have this year, we are having the second cohort where they also will be graduating on that International Women's Day, which is March 8th. Okay, so, and this is just to give you an idea about our scope of work and the scope of the countries that we were, that those fellows came from. Again, I mean, I just I want to give time for more Q&As. So this is, I mentioned the Youth Engagement Society, which is also high on our agenda. I mentioned the Emirates Soil Museum. And again here, the Emirates Soil Museum, other than the fact that it is a center where scientists can use, we use it also for activities for kids to learn more about soil, to learn more about environment, to learn more about agriculture. Okay, kids from schools or definitely young individuals from universities. We also have the Halophytic Kitchen Lab, again, to introduce individuals here to how to eat healthy diets, and also including our products here like siliconia, like quinoa. So to teach those individuals, we have those activities to teach those individuals how they can use those crops, you know. I mean, being in the Emirates, we sometimes have specific programs for the farmers, extension specialists here in the UAE. For example, this is just an example of one of our activities, which was attended by farmers and extension specialists in the UAE. This is another online training on quinoa and siliconia production, also that was done by our scientists here to farmers and to extension specialists in the field. We work also with the private sector and with the government on certain programs, and this is an example of those programs, like the Certified Agri-Entrepreneurship Program. And definitely our knowledge hub is increasing in size, so to speak. And here, this is just an example. We have certain courses that we have already on our they are approved and they are certified by the CPD certification service in the UK. So again, this would be our contribution in terms of capacity development to people in the Emirates and definitely beyond the Emirates as well. I think this is, in a nutshell, what we do into our contribution, I would say, as capacity development unit here at Iqra to promote for environment, for food security, and definitely for better lives for people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Charbel, for this very thorough presentation. Indeed, capacity development should form the basis of all our efforts aimed at ensuring food security, climate resilience, and environmental sustainability. Of course, it's one thing to develop nature-positive solutions, but at the same time, it's very important to transfer knowledge and build the capacities of different people to use those technologies and solutions. So thank you very much. I think now the floor is open for questions and answers. So if any of our attendees have any questions, please do submit them through the chat box. We'll take them in turn. I would like to also request the speakers to keep their answers as short as possible. We already have a number of questions, I would say quite a large number. So we'll try to stick to our agenda and not run over time. So we'll start with the first question. It's from Munir El-Marouri. I think it's addressed to Dr. Rk Singh. So the question is, what are the edible plants that are native to the UAE, which are available in Iqra's seed bank? Dr. Rk, I think this is a question for you.
Edible, what do you say? Edible? Can I see that?
Yeah. What are the edible plants native to the UAE, which are available, which are part of Iqra's seed bank?
Okay, so I already mentioned to him on the chat box, and I gave the even connection with the, because he wants the things from Gene Bank. I already gave the address of that. However, we have even the collections from the, this UAE also having the native wheat and barley species, which are not anywhere in the world. So we have collected and they are also with us. So we can share that. And last time we had the collaboration with the Dubai municipality in discussion on that. So we can utilize those wild species, or not wild species, land races, and they are much more tolerant and stress resistant than the others. So we have similar type, and then we have the grasses, some of the grasses which are in this region, and we have collected that because rather we preserved those grasses. So I have already given the email and thing on the Q&A box to this person.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Rk. I think the second question is also for you. We are taking them in turn as they have been submitted. So it's a question from Minakshi. The question is, are halophytic grasses grown along with the staple crops?
Yeah, in this case, particularly since we are talking about the Iqra is a sandy soil. So in the context of Iqra, yes, we can grow that because it's a sandy soil. The salt washes very fast. However, this one size doesn't fit all. If you talk about the same thing in the clay soil or silty clay soil, this will not be feasible. But in the Iqra, which is more on sandy soil or even sandy loam soil, you can grow both halophytic grasses in one and in another one. Bangladesh, it has been done. Bangladesh, in one of the field, they can grow the shrimps and the other thing, and then next levy they can grow rice. So this is possible with that little bit precautions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rk. The third question is also for you. I see everyone is very much interested in our plant research. This one is from Henry, and it's addressed specifically to you. The question is how the initiative, I'm not sure which initiative they are referring to, and crop-based diets fit in and cover the small-scale farmers in the UAE or probably in developing countries.
Yes, I already answered this also on the Q&A box, and I mentioned that, see, we are having, as even Dr. Charbel mentioned about the plant-based kitchen, like halophytic kitchen. So we are just trying to advocate these things, like how we can introduce even the native things or plant-based diets in our food, which is in the healthy, which is healthy and can be substituted for the more animal-based protein. So you can see that, say for example, quinoa is there. I already mentioned in the Q&A that like quinoa has a high lysine, which is comparable to any animal protein. So those things can be done, and these crops can be grown with the least resources. So least resources means we are talking about a poor farmer or small scale farmers. So this goes very well with the small scale farmers, and the same thing with the crops. In case if you have a very small window and we have some early maturing crop, very early maturing, not early, very early maturing crop, and they are also very nutritional dense crop. So that can go with the healthy diet in the small scale farmers also, and also this can substitute the little bit more burden on the animal based diets, and that way we can save or we can reduce the carbon footprints on that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rk. So we have another question. This one is from Chandana. It's about mesoscience, that is how to manage the anti-nutritional factors as nitrites, nitrite complexes, tannins, glycosides, phenolic compounds, saponins, oxalates, alkaloids, and may be present in them. So I'm not sure if the question is full, but
I know that this is.
I'm not sure.
This is for the food processing, and because it was to write long, so I did not write that. I sent that to everybody. Give me the email, then I will give you the explanation. Okay. These are the some bio innovators. So when we say the food innovators, you have to process the food. Say for example, even right from the beginning, when you cook the pulses, etc. in the house, you soak it. The same thing you can do that, and saponin is always removed before you eat the quinoa. So saponin or all the inhibitors, you have to have the processing, but that 10 minutes is not enough to cover all the things. So these are the very specific processing things. We can do that, and in case if he needs a little bit like explanation, the bigger explanation, I can give the references and I can give our own word how we can reduce the bioinnovators. This is possible. Then only people eat.
Thank you, Dr. Rk. I'm not sure who this question is for, but it's from Hassan Boboyev. Are there any research done recently on impact of the type of agricultural practices on climate change? Probably it's for Dr. Khalil. I'm not sure. I mean, but I welcome and I encourage all of the speakers to.
I will ask Dr. Khalil to answer, but just one line answer that we are whatever we explain everything on the climate change.
Okay, thank you, Dr.
Yeah, thank you, Abdul Muttalib. Yeah, we know that the impact of climate change on agriculture, also we look at agriculture as a sink for the climate effect on the emissions that are generated and many others. So you can look at the research in different ways. But for our work, now we have a new project with the Ministry of Climate Change to look at the impact of climate change on agriculture. But we'll look at different aspects as well. But I think there are many research that can look at how you can benefit and look at agriculture in a positive way. Yeah,
thank you, Dr. Khalil. I think now we have a comment, a question from someone called Yazen from Emirates Biofarm. So he says, thank you for the valuable work you are doing. We hope to trial any seeds you would like on a commercial organic farm. Yeah, so this is probably, I don't know, it's a question for Dr. Rk, most likely.
Yes, actually, we are trying through one of the agency, if you remember the Silal. Silal, they came and they want to make like a organization of the farmers, like 1,000 farmers in the UAE, and then they will be going for the commercialization of this technology on the farms at a different scale. So definitely, this all technology is for the farmers and commercialization.
Thank you, Dr. Rk.
But you can also mention that in case if he wants to commercialize and use his farm for the commercialization or testing the technology, they can contact us.
Yeah, I think you have already provided your email address in the chat box, right, Dr. Rk?
Yes, correct.
So I think they can, anyone who wishes to contact you directly, they can do so by email. So we have another question from Hassan Boboyev. I think this one is for Dr. Khalil. How did you treat wastewater? What methodologies? Are they costly or affordable for farmers?
Yeah, thank you. Usually we work on the reuse of the treated wastewater, and this is our area mostly. But you know, the treatment level is important for us to decide how we can use this treated wastewater according to the quality needed, and what crops are suitable or more suitable for that. We know there are many methods and available. Even now, you have many low-tech also technologies for treating wastewater on a small scale, even on farm level, that are available in the market. Some use biological, some use different methods. But for us, it's we care more about the treated wastewater itself, like the quality of that and how we can use it wisely in agricultural production. Now we are working also on a project that we hope that we can share the different technologies that could be used to improve the quality of the water from the treated wastewater and then present it to the people. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khalil. I think this one is also from Hassan Boboev, and this one is addressed to Dr. Charles Taraf. Are there any programs, internships, or training courses currently at branch offices of Iqra, including Tashkent office, to share your recent knowledge and current experience? So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Muttalib. Thank you, Hassan. We had a training course just like a few months back. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So we had a course a few months back in Tashkent for a group of individuals. Definitely, I mean, we don't have anything planned now, but definitely this is an ongoing process. So it depends on needs, and it depends on what we have there. We are planning one, as a matter of fact, also in Central Asia soon. Okay, but now, as we are standing today, we don't have anything now in that regard.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sharwal, for this answer. I think we still have a lot of questions. We'll try to answer as many as we can and not run really over time, because we're close to the end of our session today. So I'll try to take maybe a couple of more questions, and then we'll try and answer these questions, address these questions to our experts and speakers, and then we'll try to get back to all the participants who asked the questions by email. I hope we can do that. So we have, just a second, let me try. Okay, so we have this question from someone, Ashar, called Ashar. This question is for Dr. Khalil. For saving water, do you think that it is time in our region to think of the term livestock water efficiency, similar to the drop for crop term, at least for future thinking? This is Dr. Ashar.
Yeah, thank you. I think saving water is important for all sectors. It's not only for the agriculture or the crop, but also livestock. We need also to be wise in terms of using the water, not to waste it. Although the quantities compared to the agriculture or crop production is very low, but any saving, saving of any drop of water is very important and vital under the water scarcity conditions that we live. So I think, yes, we need to look at all aspects of the water savings. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khalil. There is one more question, I think, for you. This one is from Hossam. So the question is regarding the use of rock wool. Is asbestos or not? And is there a negative impact on the environment when using rock wool? I think it's a specific technology that you've probably worked on.
This technology we started last year with the Wageningen University and the Dutch companies to check how this innovation can work in terms of saving water and how much we can save, and is it applicable for the date palms that we used, and then it could be a good model for saving the water for agriculture. Now it's still under discussion and also under experimental work. So it's extended for this year again. But we'll look at aspects if there will be any effect of the rock wool on the environment and how to protect that, and then what implications it will give. So it's part of the research, but still we need to work more on the results. You know, with environmental impacts, usually it takes more time, not like the immediate savings that you can feel or see, and then measuring these, it might take longer time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Khalil. I think there's a comment or a request from Safia. I would appreciate resending Dr. Charbel's presentation. Okay, we'll do that, Safia, for sure. We'll send you Dr. Charbel's presentation. But please provide your email address so that we can do that. We'll probably take one more question, and then we'll try and wrap up our webinar. So this one is from Shahid Zia. What are the technologies developed by Iqra that small farmers can use to create a balance between food security and environmental protection? I think this has been addressed in detail, but this is probably a question to anyone who wishes to answer it. Who would like to take? This. Okay.
This is the crux of the whole presentation, about that how we can utilize the technologies which are good for or environmental friendly. So if he can write to the email, that will be better. Then we can send the details of that. However, the same thing, the crop or crop diversification, which is needing the least resources and having the lowest carbon footprints, are very good, and they can be utilized by the small scale farmers because they are not resource hungry. Those technologies are not resource hungry. So that way we can say that it is good for the small scale farmer. And this is the whole thing in the biodiversity. When we are talking about the rice, wheat and maize and potato, they need the more resources. So we need the technologies, and that can be employed by the small scale farmers. So that is the thing that we can say, that we are working for the small scale farmers for the resource conservation technologies, which has the least carbon footprints.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rk. I think we would like to stay on time and not around really over time. With this last question answer, and we will wrap up our Q&A session. And I would like to thank everyone for their answers, for their questions and answers. And in conclusion, I would like to give the floor now to Dr. Augusto Becerra Lopez Laval, who has recently joined Iqra as chief scientist, to make the concluding remarks. The floor is yours, Dr. Augusto.
Yeah, thank you, Muttalib, and thank you for the opportunity to address a large audience. I was looking into how many were tapped in, and we are with a very good number of interested parties, and I think this is great. Also to congratulate the UAE for the National Environment Day, very relevant, and certainly agriculture is one of the major contributors to climate change. 20% of emissions are related to agriculture, and so Iqra is at the core of providing solutions. And we have here from our crop diversification and genetic unit and for the sustainable natural resource management unit, all the technologies that Iqra has developed so far, which are very exciting from the perspective of adopting technologies to maintain low carbon emissions through crop diversification, exploiting and mining the gene banks for making agriculture more resilient in this region, but also to contribute with the genetics required for drought and heat tolerance, mining also these collections for improving nutrition and health of humans, very important as we move into reducing our environmental footprint in crop production. We need to be mindful that also we need to increase the health of the consumers. And also we have seen that there's a lot of interest in the forages, and Dr. Rk, the group in the crop diversification, has given a good example of how Iqra also is trying to diversify the access to forages. All that happens because there is a great interest of the organization to develop digital technologies and to improve also the fertilizer applications and soil management. And there were a few questions on that regard in the group. On sustainability of natural resources, we have seen that the water resources management is important, and also how to use the underground water, which is key for agriculture. And then it's important to mention that water, making crops more efficient, more in the production of the water, is important as a proxy for water use efficiency. And then again, the digital technologies to improve the irrigation has been highlighted. I would like to say that Iqba also shows a great deal of interest into building capacity and development of the people in the region through the Knowledge Hub. So this is something to really congratulate the organization for making this effort. And I think for the future, Iqba will be looking into making more nature-based solutions available to farmers across the region. And this is because it's important to develop research and innovation to maintain the healthy soils, because the healthy soils are going to keep those CO2 levels in control. But also Iqba should be looking into actively removing the CO2 from the environment. And this is going to be done through working more on the ocean-based science. And so there's going to be a lot more work on this aspect in the future. And I think we need to create the next frontier for agriculture. So with those remarks, I would like to congratulate all the participants and the researchers of the organization, which has been working tirelessly to maintain this very exciting research portfolio. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Augusto, for this very succinct and interesting summary of the main takeaways of our discussion today. I think with this, we can say that our webinar has come to a close. And I would like really to thank everyone for their contribution and participation. Thank you very much, and have a lovely day. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.